It is an absolutely picture-perfect weather night in downtown Cincinnati. Temperatures at 70 degrees, virtually zero humidity. And the Reds are home for a brief 3-game stay in the first of 3 against the Chicago Cubs of the National League Central Division. And hi again, everybody, alongside Chris Welsh. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds baseball here on FSN Ohio. Well, we know the Reds are going through some mighty tough times right now, and they're leaning hard on a 22-year-old right-hander in Johnny Cueto to try and right the ship.
Well, let's hope, Tom, that he doesn't feel too much pressure. He just goes back to the basics, and when he throws the basics, that means fastballs down around the knees. It'll look a lot more like that first start where he went 7 innings of 1 hit, 10 strikeout baseball instead of that last start, which he had a hard time getting out of the second inning. Last 5 starts, he's 0-3, earned run average inflated mainly because of that start that he had in St. Louis. But let's forget about that. Let's go back to the basics with Johnny Cueto. This guy's got a great arm. He got some special tutelage from Mario Soto that they flew up from the Dominican Republic to work on him. You know, they worked on him a little bit of a slider on it, but mostly his delivery, which is trying to get him to straighten up towards home plate and get the ball down the strike zone. You've got to pitch down in the big leagues.
Let's take a look at our G pitching matchup tonight. It'll be the youngster Cueto, 1-3, an ERA of almost 5.5, against a veteran Ryan Dempster, the one-time Red, who's a starter again and doing well.
Yeah, he is doing well. In fact, he's pitched the Cubs right into every ball game in which he has started, giving them a chance to win. He was a little fortunate in the game he pitched against the Reds, however. He walked 5 batters in that game. You've got to make this guy throw strikes. Sinker, slider, changeup. He's going to throw a lot of off-speed pitches tonight. Make him throw strikes, get the ball over the plate. I think the Reds hitters are about to break out of it.
Well, they're battered and bruised, these Chicago Cubs coming in. Some guys nicked up, some guys missing time. Ryan Friel's hurting, but he's in there tonight. More on that in a moment.
FSN is brought to you by Chrysler. You talk, we listen. It's a new day. Chrysler, engineered beautifully. By Pepsi. Every sip gets you closer to your choice of choice stuff at PepsiStuff.com. By Dodge. You talk, we listen. It's a new day. Dodge. Grab life. By Skyline Chili. Game time or anytime. It's always Skyline time. And by State Farm. At home or away, State Farm is there. Call, click, or visit and start saving today.
Welcome back to Great American Ballpark in downtown Cincinnati. The former Red skipper who led them, of course, to the 1990 World Series title, Lou Piniella, the manager of the Cubs, his franchise. A record-setting 17 victories in the month of April, but they come limping into this series, having lost 4 in a row. Of course, they've been without Alfonso Soriano. He just came back prior to the weekend at the game-tying home run Friday in St. Louis. Aramis Ramirez is now not starting a 3rd straight game, Chris, after this from Adam Wainwright.
But, you know, when you get hit on the wrist like that, that sometimes takes a lot longer than you would think to get back in the lineup. That is the most delicate area for all, other than an eyeball for a hitter. And the Ramirez, they thought he may be able to play tonight after batting practice. He did not even take BP. We're going to miss him at least tonight, maybe tomorrow.
Well, Ryan Friel may be battered and bruised from running all over the place, diving, getting hit by that ball right there, the line drive in Atlanta. But he's been knocking a cover off the ball, and he is in the lineup tonight. You see what he did on the road trip, a batting average of nearly .450.
You know, the Ryan Friel's the kind of player that gives you spurts of high energy and great production. Then he goes into horrible slumps. It's up to the manager to find out when he's hot, play him during that period of time, and then rest him when he cools off. Right now, this guy is on fire.
All right, the Reds have lost 5 in a row, and it's trying to change their fortunes. Johnny Cueto on the mound when we return. The Reds and the Cubs next.
Willie Mays, September 22nd, 1969, 600. Babe Ruth, August 21st, 1931, 600. Hank Aaron, April 27th, 1971, 600.
Ken Griffey Jr. Keep watching.
In high def, so hopefully you have high definition television at home, and if so, those pictures you're looking at right now just spectacular. Downtown Cincinnati, a perfect weather night, and the opening game of a 3-game series between the Reds and the Cubs. Let's take a look at Lou Piniella's starting lineup for Chicago, presented by Rico. Alfonso Soriano back. It's his 5th game since returning off the DL. He's in left. Ryan Theriot at short. Big Derek Lee has killed the Reds already this season. Is at first. Fukudome in right. Giovanni Soto behind the plate. Mark DeRosa for the injured Aramis Ramirez at third. A ladder third of Mike Fontenot. Felix P.A. in center. And Ryan Dempster is on the mound. 1-3, 22-year-old right-hander Johnny Cueto will start it for the Reds.
Oh, to be 22 years old and throw the ball 97 miles an hour. Wouldn't that be a nice thing to be? And Johnny Cueto's got exactly that. Despite his troubles his last time out, check these numbers out right here. When we're talking about 33 strikeouts against 6 bases on balls. Even the fact that he was unable to get through 3 innings the other day still is a dominant pitcher when he keeps his stuff down. Good stuff, obviously. Fastball to mid-90s. He's got a plus breaking ball, plus changeup. And obviously, you have to keep the ball down the major leagues. The Cubs have some hitters. Work the corners or work the knees.
Swing and a miss by Alfonso Soriano. Strike 1, and we are underway at Great American Ballpark in downtown Cincinnati.
You know, Johnny Cueto ought to keep in mind when he's out here in the first couple of innings that this is a very difficult time for hitters to pick up the spin of the ball and really be able to adjust to a really good fastball. He has both of those things, a good spinning breaking ball and a good fastball. The batter's eye in dead center field and right now has a reflection on it. You can see it right here. And it's a very tough thing to adjust to. When you're looking in there looking for a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, well, Alfonso Soriano couldn't solve it.
So a good start for Johnny Cueto. A strikeout of Alfonso Soriano to begin the ball game.
Well, Soriano is one of those hitters that really doesn't cut his swing down very much at all trying to make contact, but you can kind of feel sorry for him a little bit, I guess, because look at the background that he's got to pick that ball up out of. It'll last like this until maybe 7:30 or so, and then the sun will go down below the stadium level and everything will be in the shade. But in the meantime, hitters are not picking the ball up very well.
Well, when Ryan Theriot, he got a lot of playing time in the leadoff spot when Soriano was on the disabled list. Theriot having an outstanding year. And really had a solid year last year, playing regularly until the month of September when he fell on hard times. It's a ball and a strike. Then there were all the rumors and all the stories that Jim Hendry, the Cub general manager, was trying to acquire Brian Roberts from the Baltimore Orioles, which would have put Theriot, of course, on the bench. But the deal was never made. It fell through the final week of spring training, according to most reports. Theriot's gotten another chance, and so far making the most of it. See, the numbers last year really tailed off the final month, which dropped that batting average down into the high 260s. He was right around the 280, 290 mark pretty much the entire year. 2-2 on Theriot.
You know, Theriot can be the kind of player, though, that he has to continue to prove himself year in and year out. He's not one of these so-called tools guys that scouts fall in love with. So he's got to show. He's kind of like a Ryan Friel or a Jeff Keppinger, where you have to show year after year after year that he belongs in the big leagues by posting good numbers.
Strike 3 called on the inside corner, a 95-mile-per-hour fastball. Tim Welke, the home plate umpire, hearing it from Ryan Theriot.
Well, Tim Welke behind the plate. Smelled like a fastball anyway, and it smelled like a pretty good one right there. He makes the call. Back-to-back punch-outs to start the ball game.
Now Derek Lee, he looks at a strike.
You know, I was not in St. Louis. I did watch the game on FSN when you guys brought it to us from St. Louis, and you can see the way Cueto is up in the zone there. This is a little bit different right now. He's really concentrating on getting that ball down around the knees. And when you're a right-handed pitcher and can throw 95 on the outside corner to a right-handed hitter, that's a tough place to get the ball, but boy, it's also a very tough place to hit it.
Derek Lee very unhappy with each of the first 2 strikes in his at-bat, and that one just low and away. Now, I had a hard time understanding you. Did you say you did watch the game that he started?
Of course I did.
Okay.
I have my critique notes around here somewhere. We'll
dig them up for me if you would. I was going to say, what were you doing?
Filmed my TV with FSN, baby.
Pitch taken up and in, 2-2. Probably an early celebration of your bride's birthday.
Well, we celebrated it today. Cinco de Mayo. Happy birthday, Debbie.
Happy birthday indeed.
It's over Barb and Tom's house, her mom and dad having dinner. Somebody has to cook dinner for her here on her birthday, right?
I figure maybe you got up in the morning and made her some JTM patties. Here's a pitch on the way, and just low, 3-2 on Derek Lee.
That was a big birthday, but not quite that big.
Okay. Fukudome stands in the on-deck circle. 2 down, just underway in the top of the first inning. And a one-hopper right back to Cueto. He broke Lee's back. So, a visit with Mario Soto. So far, so good. 3 up, 3 down for Mr. Cueto. The Reds coming to bat when we return. Been the Cubs closer the last 2 years. Came up originally in the big leagues as a starter, and he's a starter again in very impressive numbers to start the year.
Right now he's got a career high 4-game winning streak, 4-0 record, an earned run average very respectable, right around 3. The one thing that bothers you, though, if you're a Cubs fan watching Ryan Dempster, you wonder if those walks, the walk and strikeout ratio is something that will eventually going to get to him, and he can wild pitch himself into problems.
Oh, and to the count on Ryan Friel, a .328 batter with 8 runs batted in. Well, Ryan Friel not going to let Dempster pitch himself into trouble. Swung at the first pitch, took a strike, and then chased a ball out of the zone, and he's gone to begin the game.
Well, the scouting report on Ryan Dempster is exactly that. At the very bottom, make him throw strikes, and we'll go from the bottom to the top. He likes his changeup, especially to left-handers. He'll throw that a lot. Sliders to right-handers and fastball. Not great stuff, but good enough stuff to keep you honest. But right here, make him throw strikes. I can't emphasize that enough. He'll walk you if you get a chance. To give him a chance.
The Ken Griffey Jr. countdown to 600 home runs is brought to you by Walt's Business Solutions, the official solutions provider of the Cincinnati Reds. A junior left on the road trip, 3 home runs shy of 600. He's still 3 home runs shy of 600, and certainly playing with a heavy heart. A dear friend since childhood. Junior found out earlier today, finally succumbed to cancer at only 38 years old, and Junior was scratched from the lineup by Dusty Baker. Once the manager heard about it, Junior came back in and said, I want to be in the lineup. So here he is. And I'm sure it's got to be tough for him right now. Two and one to Junior, a .228 batter. And it's low and in, 3 balls and a strike. What do you think about Junior in the 2-hole?
You need somebody on base. And one thing Junior can do is get on base. You know, I like the opportunity to get him up more often than you would if you punch him down the number 4 or 5 hole. Right now, the Reds are just looking for some kind of a flow.
And against the shift, a diving play made by the shortstop Terrio, but no chance to throw out Junior, and that'll be an infield hit. Let's take a look at the Cubs defensively. PA is starting in center field. Don't be fooled by that 0 errors in career games. He is overthrown, and badly overthrown, to third and home numerous times this year, and inexplicably has not been charged with an error. Soriano in left, Fukudome in right. DeRosa for the injured Ramirez at third. Terrio, Fondo, Lee rounding out the infield. PA can run him down with the best of them. But according to all reports that we've been given, when it comes to throwing the ball to bases, and I'm not necessarily talking about trying to throw somebody out, but just hitting a cutoff man has been tough at times for PA. Very talented young player, however, and they're hoping those things get ironed out with more experience at the big league level. Little roller up a third base line. This will probably be an infield hit, and it is.
Now the Reds getting a couple of breaks on the first 2 balls they hit on the ground. About time they started getting some breaks. They hit some balls hard in Atlanta, but they were right at him. This one is not right at him. It has to be a running Mark DeRosa that comes in there to field it. He'll make a flip to first base, but there's no way you're going to get a speedy Brandon Phillips. So a good scoring opportunity right out of the chute for the Reds.
Joey Votto batting in the cleanup spot, checks in at .294, has 4 home runs and 14 runs batted in. 2 on. Only Only one out in a scoreless game, and he pulled the string on him there. It's 77 miles per hour. Tonight, the third time in the Reds batting order where Votto has hit in the cleanup spot.
You know, Joey Votto's got a lot to brag about already. .294 batting average. He's right here in the middle of the lineup, batting fourth. But don't you love his setup? I mean, he's so deliberate. And he's so solid in the batter's box. You look in there from the pitcher's mound and watch him. You say, this guy's a hitter.
Pull to the right side. Trouble here. And a boot at second base. And everybody safe. Clearly, Fontenot had already directed his attention to the throw to second to start the double play. And then can't field it cleanly.
Well, they say good hitters put special spin on the ball. You wonder if that's the case right here for Joey Votto. I say that tongue-in-cheek, obviously, as that is a 4-6-3 ground ball double play made to suit anybody out there, except Fontenot can't get the handle on it. So the Reds have to take advantage of an opportunity like this. They could not be more fortunate than they are right now.
Edwin Encarnacion, the batter, and he takes inside for ball one. This is one of the areas where most teams just knock the cover off the ball with the bases loaded. The Reds are not one of them. They have 5 hits and 28 at bats with the bases loaded. That is a 179 team batting average. He did not go around. It's 2-0. Encarnacion, in fact, has 7 at bats this year with the bases loaded and is 0 for 7 without a single run batted in.
And you know, Tom, I think part of that is due with the overall impatience as a team that this ball club shows. And you're looking at the guy in the batter's box right now who may be the most impatient of all. Even after Dempster missed on the 1-0 pitch, he nearly swung, held his bat back just barely on a pitch that was going to miss way out of the zone. Now he's worked himself into 3-0.
Encarnacion taking all the way there.
You'd like to get one just like that 3-0 Leo right there down Broadway.
Well, he has a strike to play with here, and this is where he has to show patience.
You still shrink the zone here in 3-1. You're still in control. Pressure's on the pitcher here.
Bases loaded. 1 out. 3-1 Edwin. Swung and missed. He got a good pitch to hit. Dismissed it.
Kind of an awkward looking swing, though. I'm not so sure he's picking the ball up very well out of the hand of Ryan Dempster.
3-2 with the bases loaded and 1 out. And it's ball 4 to bring in a run.
Now Larry Rothschild to go out and try to settle his right-hander down before this inning gets way out of whack on him. You know, he's had some bad breaks go against him. He's had a couple of ground ball base hits. He's had a ball that was a double play ball and should really be in the dugout right now had the Cubs been able to turn a double play in his behalf. Then you turn around, you walk a run in. And you've got Adam Dunn up, who has had his fair measure of success against Dempster.
We take a look at our Firestone leaders, and as far as lowest batting average allowed among all National League pitchers, Ryan Dempster's second only to Ben Sheets. Dunn started and takes a strike. See Edinson Volquez number 4, Brandon Webb number 5. Bases loaded, 1 in, 1 out. And it's up and away to Adam Dunn, a .221 batter. 4 home runs and 13 runs batted in. Now, we talked about the Reds' troubles with the bases loaded. Dunn is 2 for 4 in such situations, but only 1 run batted in, and you see in his career 7 grand slams. Well, clearly he didn't pick that ball up because he didn't start the swing until it looked like it was almost in Soto's mitt.
Well, there's a certain time of day when it's very difficult for outfielders to pick up fly balls. At this ballpark, though, this may be the worst in the National League. This time for hitters trying to pick it up out of a pitcher's hand. And Adam Dunn will tell you that as a left fielder here, this is probably the toughest left field in all of baseball as well, mainly because the way this ballpark is configured. Right field should be your sun field. It's not here at Great American Ballpark. With a special exemption from Major League Baseball, they designed it so left field's your sun field.
2-2 to Dunn. Back-to-back infield hits with one out from Jr. and Phillips. A double play ball that should have been turned into an error by Fontenot, and Encarnacion drew a bases loaded walk. So they're loaded against Dempster with one away, one in. 2-2, the pitch up coming to Adam Dunn. And here it is. Rolled foul. Two balls, two strikes on Adam Dunn. It's high to go to 3-2. It was a 3-2 pitch a moment ago when Dempster walked Encarnacion. You see Adams' numbers against Dempster, very good. A big pitch in the early part of this ball game. 2 away in the inning. Dunn looks at strike 3.
Fastball nicely placed by Ryan Dempster. One of those front door fastballs that Adam Dunn gives up on early, has a little bit of hair on it, and comes back over the dish to get a strike. Big time pitch and big time opportunity by Adam Dunn gone by.
Well, now it's up to Keppinger, one of the few Reds this season to hit with runners in scoring position. There's a strike. Keppinger, in fact, the third best average in the National League with runners in scoring position at .423. Trying to get a such hit with 2 outs right now. And he's quickly behind 0-2.
We got to look at Giovanni Soto, the Cubs catcher, when we went through Chicago, Tom. And I'll tell you what, very, very impressive behind the plate. Bases loaded. You get 0-2 on a hitter. As a pitcher, you want to bounce the ball in the dirt. Hey, you wouldn't think twice about it with this guy. Did you see him go down and block that ball? Textbook form.
Little flare to center field will fall. 2 runs will score, and Keppinger again continues to deliver. A broken bat, 2 out, 2 strike, 2-run single, and the Reds lead 3-0. That's a much-needed hit.
Well, a flare, a broken bat, yes, but it counts nonetheless, and it counts even bigger when there's 2 outs and runners in scoring position. And that ball just came in and just sawed the bat right out of his hands, right on the knuckles, but a flare job over the second baseman's head, and Jeff Keppinger gets it done by putting it in play.
Now Paul Bacco should get a chance to swing the bat here with 2 out and 2 on. The 8th man to bat in a 3-run opening inning, and there's a changeup swung on and missed.
Well, that's about his 3rd or 4th first pitch changeup.
No, really, you look at every Red up and down the entire roster, and I don't care if you're talking about hitter, pitcher, makes no difference. If you had to grade out every player on the Reds so far this year, from what you expected to what they've done, Bacco might rate higher than any player on the club. He has had an excellent year. Gone on strikes this time, but a 3-run opening inning. 3 hits and a big error by Mike Fontenot. And to 1, the Reds up 3-0.
Two outs. The Reds have one. I repeat, one run batted in that situation that gave the lead to the Reds. A go-ahead run batted in with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. Way, way worse than the league there. And hopefully they'll be able to get some clutch hitting going. They've jumped off to a 3-0 lead with exactly that kind of at-bat and base hit by Jeff Keppinger. 2 outs, runners in scoring position. So they've already addressed their problems, Tom.
Let's see if Johnny Cueto can pitch deep into this game and get the other part of that equation going. Swing and a miss by Fukudome. Boy, he was so impressive when we saw him for the first time in Chicago, the first series between these two teams. In his first year in the major leagues, following a 9-year career in Japan, signed a 4-year deal with the Cubs. A career .305 batter with nearly a .400 lifetime on-base percentage. A former Central League, that's in Japan, most valuable player. And so far off to a great start, a .342 hitter.
That's the old Hoyt Wilhelm trick right there. You get ahead of a hitter, instead of buzzing one up around his neck and waking him up, you throw one down around his ankles. Explain these numbers to me, though, on Fukudome. .448 at home at Wrigley Field. He loves the friendly confines, down the low 200s when he gets on the road. The Cubs have played a lot of home games, and they've been very well in home games. 11-6 overall when they stay in Chicago. A 500 club on the road.
3-2 is strike 3 called, and Fukudome, who has a very good eye at the plate, thought it was ball 4, or at least ball 3, I beg your pardon. Instead, it's strike 3.
Well, memo to hitters, Tim Welke's calling the corners, and if that's the case, both Ryan Dempster and Johnny Cueto should take note of that and be able to deliver the ball down and on the ankles. Now, he's getting a little bit of beef right now, Welke. Over this call and some others, he's looking into that Cubs dugout.
Well, Gerald Perry, the hitting coach, I'm not sure if he was the one thrown out. I don't think it was Lou Piniella, although here comes Lou. Lou asked him what was going on. Tim Welke gave him an explanation, and Lou just turns and shuffles back to the dugout.
Now Lou's getting into it with some fans in the diamond seats. He's got his ears on.
I think it is Gerald Perry, their hitting coach, who's been thrown out of the game. Right there. And there's a strike meanwhile to Giovanni Soto. Not only has Soto done an outstanding job behind the plate, as Chris mentioned a moment ago, look at those numbers. And a high drive into deep left field has put Chicago on the board. Home run number 6 for Giovanni Soto. What a fabulous future for Giovanni Soto. They saw enough of him last year after just tearing it up in AAA to bring him to the big leagues, and then handed him the everyday job this year.
Well, you show me a catcher anywhere who is not a good high fastball hitter. For some reason, they all are. They're usually stocky, they're strong, and they love to jump on the high cheese, and Giovanni Soto, no exception to that. Look where the ball is right here. If you're going to chart that, that's where you want to stay clear of, folks. A little bit above the waist, that's good hitting.
DeRosa hit with an 0-2 pitch, and DeRosa upset about it. There's no way that Cueto is trying to hit anybody, especially a hitter after he's ahead in the count 0-2. Mike Fondo checks in at 294 with a pair of home runs and 11 runs batted in. DeRosa one steal in his only attempt. Ball one to Fondo. Good change up right there, caught the outside corner. 1-1 to Fondo. Are you seeing anything different besides results, obviously, so far from Cueto tonight?
I saw the follow through that Mario Soto talked to me about the other day on the bench up in Atlanta about how he follows through towards first base and didn't like that. Well, I saw that in spring training. I saw it through his first couple of starts. You know, in fact, we even made a comparison between Johnny Cueto and his follow through and the great Bob Gibson, and had them side by side and showed them, and they're very similar. Of course, Gibson's about 5 inches taller than Cueto, and maybe a hair meaner, but I'll tell you that they follow through very much the same way. But you do have to keep your head over the target and over your front knee as long as possible, and that'll help them keep the ball down. So the adjustment at the major league level, sometimes very small, it can mean something very big.
1-2 on Fontenot. 3 strikeouts tonight for Johnny Cueto. He's allowed the 1 hit and the 1 run.
Well, the great stride right there. He really pushes off with that back leg, and he gets himself terrific momentum towards the plate. But if he shortens it up too much and then ends up falling too much off towards first base, very difficult to keep that ball down consistently.
Still 1-2 to Fontenot. Looks like they're going to come in on this pitch. A long look over at first base. And the hitter wants time out. I'm not sure why Cueto would be consumed as far as his attention is in any way, shape, or form with DeRosa at first base.
Probably can't read the scatter report.
1-2 on Fontenot. A decent lead over there by DeRosa. And a breaking ball misses down and in.
Johnny Cueto, you know, I always like to say that pitching is a linear function, meaning it's straight in line. And if the more you're in line with your pitching, the better and easier it is going to have good control. He's got good, I guess, geometry, if you want to call it that.
See, you don't think he looks like he is still falling off to the first base side?
He is falling off, and I think he's probably done that throughout his minor league career. I know I saw him do that in spring training. I know that they want to get him a little bit more towards home, but you're not going to make a major adjustment like that between starts. That's something that you're going to work on a little bit at a time. And in the meantime, let him pitch. Let him use that 95 to 98 mile-an-hour fastball, and don't try to cloud his mind with too much other stuff.
Reds lead 3-1. We're in the top of the second inning. 1 in, 1 on, 1 out. And a 3-2 pitch to Fondo. Runner goes, and a strike 3. Throw down a second. And a terrible throw made by Baco. It's off the glove of Phillips into left center field, and sliding into third safely is DeRosa. Boy, any throw at all that just makes it in the air, and they have DeRosa thrown out by 5 feet.
You know, it's a shame they have to give him a stolen base at all on this. It's going to go down as a stolen base and then an error on Baco as the ball gets by Brandon Phillips. You know, you can see what Brandon's trying to do, backhand it and slap the tag on it, but he didn't realize that Mark DeRosa was going to stop. He was willing to get himself into a rundown right there had Brandon Phillips gloved that. It's a shame it should go down as a stolen base at all, because he was dead because he stopped.
Well, now Felix P.A., the rookie center fielder, looks at ball 1 blown away. P.A. only a .224 batter with a home run and 7 runs batted in. He got 1 start against the Reds that series at Wrigley Field and did a lot of that. Swinging and missing.
Well, you got to figure that this is a matchup that's probably happened a few times in the past. In winter ball. Maybe in amateur summer leagues way ago. And PA's still looking for that Cueto fastball, hasn't gotten it yet. You know he's a sucker for the slider down and in. You wonder if he'll chase a high fastball out of the zone.
Here's a 1-2 to PA. And there's that slider down and in. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Cueto works out of the regular windup with a runner at third and 2 men out, and a 2-2 to PA. A strike 3 called to end the inning. 5 strikeouts in the game for Johnny Cueto. He allows a home run to Soto. And after an inning and a half, the Reds with a 3-1 lead in a series opener against Chicago. Home run mark. Be there to see it. For tickets, call 381-REDS or go to Reds.com. Junior due up third in the inning as we're in the bottom of the second at Great American Ballpark. Reds in front 3-1. And it's 0-2 Ryan Dempster against Johnny Cueto. Struck him out on 3 pitches to start the inning. Cueto 0 for 11. Still in search of that first big league hit and kind of grinning and smiling as he's heading back to the Reds dugout. Well, he is a polished young man, isn't he? I mean, for so young and having only made 6 starts in his major league career, coming off the worst outing by far, or maybe arguably of his professional career, yet still seems very much together and in control.
He's got confidence, and that's the one thing that we've heard about in spring training before we showed up down there. Then once we were around Johnny Cueto a little bit, you realize it. Not a cockiness, not the kind of arrogance that makes the other team ticked off at you. Just the quiet confidence that he knows he's good and he knows he belongs here.
Now, Volquez is a guy of the two who, he's a little older, been around the block a time or two more than Cueto. He's had his taste of the big leagues in each of the last 3 years. There's a foul ball off the bat of Frio. Now, Volquez is a lot more outgoing, much more talkative and demonstrative down there in the clubhouse. I'm not going to say he's loud or obnoxious, anything like that. He just has a little more kind of giddy up in his step.
You're right, and he's got that kind of personality, but he's also a little more outgoing when it comes to the American or the English-speaking media because he speaks very fluent English. Johnny Cueto still learning the language. Remember that Edinson Volquez's mom and dad are both educators down in Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic.
Real a check swing and a miss, and they'll be thrown out. So both pitchers have the strikeout pitches working tonight, each with 5 so far.
They're really getting them done with different pitches too. Ryan Dempster's strikeout pitch on the night, with the exception of that fastball that Adam Dunn took in the first inning, have all come either on change-ups or breaking balls. Johnny Cueto's gotten the majority of his on his heater.
Well, now Junior, who had an infield hit and scored in the 3-run opening inning, looks at ball 1 low and in. Junior has gone 38 at bats now since his last home run, which came here against Houston on the 23rd of April. And today, of course, we celebrate Cinco de Mayo. Check swing, and it looked like he win. He did on the appeal. 2-1 to Junior. One of Junior's 4 home runs this season came against his Cub right-hander, Junior's former teammate Ryan Dempster. That was during our 3-game trip in Chicago. Cubs starters in this series, it'll be Dempster, Zambrano, then Lieber, and you see Junior with home runs against each of the 3. 2 of them, in fact, against Zambrano.
Going back to April, yep, that was Ryan Dempster on the mound. Ken Griffey Jr. at the plate, home run 596 for Ken Griffey Jr. Of course, that one up at Wrigley Field. You know, you show that graphic of the three pitchers that are pitching. Bigger than the Griffey matchup is the fact that I think Aaron Harang is facing Carlos Zambrano again. Didn't they do it 5 times last year?
I think 6 times.
6 times, and I think that Harang got him 4 or 5 of those times.
2-2 the count. And a breaking ball is down and in. Harang faced Zambrano in 4 of his 6 starts against the Cubs last year. And in those 4 head-to-head meetings, Harang went 3-0. Zambrano lost all 4. So strike 3 to Jr. as Dempster for the second time tonight fans the side. The Reds lead as we go to the 3rd by a pair. Center field and the battery of Cueto and Baco. Reds lead 3-1 as Chicago comes to bat against Johnny Cueto here in the 3rd inning. Cueto has 5 strikeouts through the front 2. Ryan Dempster, every out that he's recorded tonight has been a strikeout. Fly ball to left center field. Dunn a wave off Friel. 1 away. When you look at the Cubs in the month of April this season, they won a franchise record 17 games, trumping the 16 wins of that 1969 storied club in Cubs franchise history. They set franchise records in runs, hits, doubles, walks. The .291 batting average was the highest in the month of April since April of 1954. I mean, so you're talking about in a franchise that has been known for producing a lot of offense, the most prolific offensive club in the first month of the season in the history of the franchise. Yet having said that, they come in just 5 games over 500.
That's where that runs per game average can be so misleading.
Fly ball into right field, hit pretty well. Jr. at the wall, leaps, and he got it. Ken Griffey Jr. up against the wall in right field. Goes up to get it and denies Soriano of a hit, perhaps a home run.
Now Seattle Mariner fans saw this for years as he roams center field in the Kingdome. He does it in right field tonight, going up, not robbing a home run, but certainly an extra base hit away from Alfonso Soriano, who thought he had something going there, going the other way on Jr. Maybe that could have had a chance to be out of here. Every time I see it, the catch gets more and more impressive. Got no help at all from that Cubs bullpen either.
1-1 to Ryan Theriot.
I can hear him now. Plenty of room.
That's right. Well, you know, we're getting back to that thing about the Cubs, and you look at their starting rotation, and really outside of Zambrano and Ryan Dempster, it has been just a disaster. I mean, Marquis has struggled. They've already sent Sean Hill back down to the minor leagues. John Lieber is going into the rotation for the time being until they can get Hill straightened out. Rich Hill down at the minor league level. Sean Gallagher was just called back up. They might put him in the rotation. Kerry Wood at times has been pretty good, but has already blown 3 save chances. So for all the runs they're scoring, the area of strength, at least they believe going into the year, that's really let them down with few exceptions is on the mound. Line into center field, a base hit.
Well, Tom, you know, let's go back to that runs per game example, because this is where when you have a few high-scoring games, it could really get your runs per game average way up there. They've had games of 9 runs, 12 runs. They've had 2 games back-to-back of 13 runs each. But 14 times this year, the Cubs have scored 3 runs or less. 13 times. So, you know, when you're looking at the inconsistency that they show, this is what Lou Piniella will tell you. He goes, hey, we get them in bunches. When we have a great night, we have a super night. But most of the time, we're not really getting enough runs to win. That's the old Anderson math coming into play, Tom, when you think about median and mean.
Take a look at the Honda standings in the National League Central. Did you say Anderson math?
I did indeed.
We talk about the Cubs' problems, whatever problems they're having. All of us should have those problems. You're still 5 games over, and you're only a game and a half out of first. And at least a common belief, whether or not it holds up, we'll find out. All I know is the Cardinals are winning every night. Now, most people say it's not going to last. Well, they're winning every night.
They are. And the Cubs got off to a tremendous start. They started out of the gate 15-6, and then they've gone 3-7 in the last 10.
One hopper down to Encarnacion. The short way will end the inning. 1 hit, 1 left, middle of the third. The Reds in front of the Cubs, 3-1. Part of the order to begin the bottom half of the third inning. Brandon Phillips, 2 hopper down to third. DeRosa throws across the diamond. 1 pitch and 1 out for Dempster. Reds lead 3-1. Getting all 3 runs in the first inning. They got back-to-back infield hits with 1 out from Jr. and Brandon Phillips, and then caught a break. Joey Votto hit a tailor-made double play ball right at Fontenot, but he couldn't field it cleanly. Everybody turned out safe. Encarnacion followed with a bases-loaded walk, and then Jeff Keppinger following a strikeout to Adam Dunn. Had a broken bat 2-run single into center field. Votto dumps it foul off to the third base side. Giovanni Soto homered in the Cubs' second inning for their lone run. Well, apparently one of the fans was walking out of the skybox, and the door was open as a few of them were coming through, and that foul ball came over their way, and they ducked to get out of the way, and the ball went flying right into the skybox.
Took the top right off the food warmer.
Roller out in front of the plate, and Dempster will throw out Votto. Well, it doesn't matter who's in a 3, 4, 5 spots, and by and large, let's be clear here. By and large, it has been Phillips, Dunn, and Griffey. And you take a look at the 3, 4, 5 hitters compared to the National League average. Batting average, 34 points less on average. On base percentage down by almost 15. Slugging percentage way off. Look at the RBIs. 17 off the average. And right under the glove of DeRosa into left field, and Encarnacion reaches on the 2-out area.
You know what, Tom? I look at a stat like that that shows the 3, 4, and 5, or the 3, 4, and 5 hitters of the Reds, middle of the order, against the National League average, and I look at that in an optimistic way, thinking that there's no way that the middle of this order is that much less than average, and so these guys, there's some payback coming somewhere along the line. Eventually, you got to figure that Dunn's going to get his 40 and his 100 runs batted in. Junior's going to surpass his 600th home run finally, and then start swinging the bat like he can. And I think Brandon Phillips, who showed us last year to be plenty fine offensively, is going to be in the mix. And I think that Joey Votto needs to be continued in that mix somewhere. I just think by the time it's all said and done at the end of the year, you're going to think about Joey Votto as being number 3 or 4 hitter.
Well, I don't think that anybody would debate that topic with you. I think the first thing that most would say, and the counter that I would say to you, is it's not always how much, but it's when. And when the team is 8 games under 500, and that's the particular point in time where your big fellas can't get off the schneid, well, if you start hitting when you're 15 under, who cares?
Well, right now you can't say that it's still April, so it's early. Now it's still early May, yes, but soon you're going to run out of days that you can use that as a fallback. I agree with you.
Well, this one is launched deep into the night, and Adam Dunn has helped change some of those numbers. A 2-run home run for Dunn, number 5 on the year, and the Reds lead 5-1. Of course, with Dunn batting tonight in the number 6 spot in the batting order, That won't change the 3, 4, 5 hitters necessarily, but certainly helps Adam Dunn.
Well, Adam Dunn gets an extra life in this inning because of the error by the third baseman on the ball hit by Encarnacion. And that is a long one. That one nearly left the stadium. That was about 4 rows from going out of here, bouncing on Merrill Way and maybe into the river. 5 runs tonight against Ryan Dempster, each and every one of them unearned.
And really, that was the first hard hit ball against Dempster tonight. Boy, did he hit it. Oh.
That was 2 rows from being out. There's got to be a dent on that ball somewhere.
On the outside corner, 1-2 to Keppinger, who had a 2-run single in the 3-run opening inning. For Dunn now 5 home runs and 15 runs batted in. Strike 3 call. But a big error by DeRosa keeps the inning alive for the big Texan. And Adam Dunn hammers one way back onto the moon deck in right center field, giving the Reds a 4-run lead.
By JTM, bringing all of Reds country together again around the grill with family and friends. JTM. And by Jeep. You talk, we listen. It's a new day. Have fun out there. Jeep.
Adam Dunn, a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 3rd inning, has given Johnny Cueto his largest lead of the night. A 5-1 ball game, but a long way to go. Fukudome, Soto, and DeRosa here in the Chicago 4th, and a 2-hopper at Phillips. He'll wait on Votto to get to the bag. 1 gone. The best sports show period is the greatest nightly sports show on television. It comes your way weeknights at 11 p.m. only on FSN Ohio. Presented by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO. I saw where Rob Dibble is no longer going to be one of the hosts of that show. Read that in the newspaper earlier today. So whatever Dibbs is up to, we wish him well.
I thought I heard him on the radio. Is he on the radio?
I think he does a show on satellite radio, if I'm not mistaken. Giovanni Soto homered to left field. His only time up tonight. He now has 24 runs batted in. He's a Cub team leader, one better than Derek Lee. Soto's 25 years old, grew up in Puerto Rico. Had a breakout season with the bat at AAA Iowa last year. In fact, he was the Pacific Coast League most valuable player and wound up getting meaningful playing time with the big league club in September after he was brought up. He draws a walk. Take a look at the Aflac trivia question tonight. Which pitcher gave up Pete Rose's 3,000th career hit? Well, naturally, playing the Cubs, one would assume that is a Chicago Cub pitcher who gave up hit number 3,000. Of course, the Cub pitcher, if I'm not mistaken, gave up hit number 4191 at Wrigley Field in Chicago, and Pete came up with a chance to break the record in his final at bat, the all-time hits record at Wrigley Field on that afternoon, and was retired before the Reds came back home. And after not getting it the first night, he wound up getting, of course, against Eric Shaw and the San Diego Padres.
So do you have a guess for the pitcher that gave up number 3,000? So if he's getting 200 hits a year, I think only talking 5 years previous. So somewhere in the early 80s, is that when he got his 3,000?
He wasn't getting 200 hits a year late in his career.
Okay, well, you're talking about somewhere around late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
Smoke at the throat and peas at the knees. That's what you tell Johnny.
Is that a Commonwealth thing?
That's what you tell Johnny Cueto. You keep it simple and you let him go out there and rip it up there.
The ball fouled off before it reached Encarnacion. 1-2 on DeRosa.
You never heard that? Peas at the knees.
I just heard it.
The throat. Well, you got an arm like that. Well, you're 22 and you can dial up to about 98. That should be your game plan.
That's a good game plan. That walk by Soto, the first issue tonight by Cueto. He hit this batter, DeRosa, on an 0-2 pitch back in the second inning. Here's a 1-2 pitch. Wow, I didn't miss by much. That's a call that both pitchers have gotten pretty much all night tonight. Maybe low.
Yeah, Lou would have been right if that one was a strike.
2-2 on DeRosa, who has just killed the Reds the last 2 years. Check swing. It looked like he went. He did. Strikeout number 6 in the game for Johnny Cueto.
A nice biting slider. You know, in order to have a good breaking ball, you have to have arm speed. That's why you see most of the greatest curveball pitchers are also guys who had great fastballs. Burt Blyleven, great fastball. Nolan Ryan, great fastball. Both also, of course, known for their good breaking balls. And that was a tight slider by Johnny Cueto.
2 down, 1 on for Fontenot, who struck out looking his only at bat. There's strike 1 on the outside corner, knee high.
Looking a little like Mickey Morandini, isn't he?
He really is. I was trying to figure it out who he reminded me of all night tonight, and you just hit the nail right on the head. He played for a short while with the Cubs.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Morandini. Most of his playing career came, of course, with the Philadelphia Phillies.
Here we are in the top of the 4th inning. 67 pitches for Johnny Cueto. Really, the only inning that jumps out at you is that second inning in which he threw 24. Everything else is right within range. And you know, Johnny Cueto, even though he's been a strikeout pitcher, came into this ball game averaging fewer than 15 pitches per inning. So he's been around the dish.
2-2 to Fontenot.
You mean Morandini?
Morandini. The only thing that really separates him, though, is the little growth on the chin. Morandini never had that.
Well, that's because it wasn't in vogue back then.
Morandini wore the hair, I think, a little bit longer than Fontenot. Of course, those Philadelphia teams he played on, everybody had long hair. Strike 3 called. Fontenot can't believe it. That is 7 strikeouts on the night. Once he takes that hat off, he looks a little like Khalil Green. An online auction. That one lined into center field. 1 pitch and 1 out. Now each package includes seats to the Reds Father's Day game against Boston. Place your bid today at reds.com/catch or call 765-7235. I got to tell you, I have a beef with this whole catch thing. I got to tell you. Now, I don't know about you, Chris, but growing up here in the greater Cincinnati area, okay, I have only heard of let's go out and play catch. Right?
Right.
Have you ever heard in your life from anybody who grew up in a tri-state or anywhere outside of the northeastern part of the country that ever said, let's go have a catch. Have you ever heard that said in your life?
Unless it was a variety of cold one I had not previously heard of.
Okay, I mean, but the only place I've ever heard that term, let's go have a catch, is in the Northeast.
You're right.
And now all of a sudden I'm hearing people saying it all over the place.
Around here, we play catch.
That's exactly right. 2 away in the inning. I mean, that Field of Dreams movie, you know, I guess that's the one that made it popular. But
I'm glad you got that off your chest.
I did. It's really bothered me. All right, our answer. Which pitcher gave up Pete Rose's 3,000th career hit? And the answer is... Got to be a Cub, right? Okay, I guess I'm wrong. Steve Rogers of the Montreal Expos on this date in 1978.
How are we supposed to guess that? I mean, unless you have a room dedicated to Pete Rose, how would you know that?
And Steve Rogers was a good pitcher. That guy was tough.
Nickname Cy.
He was tough.
Because he never won one.
Bullet into left field.
Yeah, that was Gary Carter behind the plate. I'm wondering if maybe Carter whispered to him fastball as that baby was en route.
Look who was playing first base that night for the Expos.
Big dog.
Big dog. Tony Perez. Wow. 1978. 30 years ago tonight. Man, time flies, doesn't it? 1-2 to Ryan Friel, who struck out twice in the game. 2 Hopper down to third, and Dempster with his first perfect inning since his last. FSN Ohio. With this weather, we have just had a wonderful spring. After we got through about the first, I don't know, 10 days, 12 days of the baseball season, we had a lot of rain, but ever since then, for the last 3.5 weeks or so, it has been just gorgeous. And yesterday and today are 2 of the nicest days I can ever remember in a lifetime. Perfect.
How's Polly getting adjusted to the Midwestern?
Oh, this time of year it doesn't get any better. Don't bring it up in January or February.
You keep counting,
or mid-March.
You keep track of the pollen count over there at the Brenneman household?
No. There are lots of other things we're counting. That ain't one of them. Ball 1 to Felix PA, leading off the Cubs' 5th inning. And a fastball is low. 2-0. PA, Dempster, and then Soriano. The Reds leading 5-1 in the opening game of this 3-game series, and trying to end a 5-game losing streak. 2-1 to PA. Tomorrow night we'll be coming your way on FSN Ohio for game 2. That'll be Aaron Harang against Carlos Zambrano. And then radio only Wednesday. That is a 12:35 start. Tickets available for both games. Call 381-REDS or log on to Reds.com or just come on down to the ballpark. Edinson Volquez will start on Wednesday against right-hander John Lieber. Then the Reds leave for a 3-game series in New York. Come right back home to open a 7-game homestand. Here's a 3-2 to PA, and that can't happen. A leadoff walk to a guy hitting in the 2 teens. On Friday night, get a look around the major leagues with a baseball report. We're covering every team all season long. The baseball report Fridays at 6 right here on FSN Ohio.
But not only can it not happen, it's also very difficult to do. That is only the 4th base on balls this year to Felix PA in over 50 plate appearances. This guy's hard to put on base. He usually gets his at-bat finished in the first 2 or 3 pitches he sees. In fact, rarely does he go deep into a count. He's up there hacking. And I'd imagine Ryan Dempster's up there bunting.
PA can't run. And it's bunted foul.
See, I don't understand that particular pitch. That was a 89 mile. It was a fastball, but it was at 89 miles an hour. If you're Johnny Cueto and you've got a mid-90s fastball and you've got a pitcher in the batter's box, even a pretty good athlete like Ryan Dempster, and he's a good athlete, you go ahead and cut it loose. I mean, you throw it at the upper end of the strike zone as hard as you can, and you say, Ryan, let's see you get that one down. Don't give him a cookie down the middle at 89.
He threw it at 93, and he'll throw it 97 to get one, and a double play. Cueto cuts it loose to Keppinger, and they turn two.
You're absolutely right, Tom. I think he threw that throw to second base harder than he threw the pitch to Dempster. I mean, he picks it up. He says there's no hesitation there, and look out. Getting off the mound quickly like a cat. That's part of it right there. The other is just that blistering ball that he throws to Keppinger to start the double play.
And Cueto is showing some emotion after starting that 1-6-3 double play. So the bases wiped clean, 2 away in the inning. And here's Alfonso Soriano, who struck out swinging leading off the game, flied out to Junior. When Junior went leaping up against the wall to take away what turned out to be and looked like a home run from Soriano. He's right on the edge of the top part of the fence in right field. Soriano signed a contract as a free agent prior to last year with the Cubs. It will keep him in a Cub uniform until nearly his 40th birthday. When they signed Soriano, they thought they were getting a 40-40 guy. For Soriano, one of only 3 players in the history of the game to go 40-40 in a single year. 40 or more home runs, 40 or more stolen bases in the same season. But leg injuries have really taken away a big part of his running game. Everyone swung on and fouled back out of play.
And you take away part of his, or take away his running game, and you're taking away a whole lot of the reason why the Cubs went out and signed Alfonso Soriano. He's the kind of leadoff hitter that gives you obviously some home run power, but also disruptive speed on the bases. But he hasn't shown that this year.
He just came off the DL. You may remember he got hurt making a routine catch of a fly ball while the Reds were at Wrigley Field in Chicago in the middle part of April. And Lou Piniella, according to all accounts, has gotten a bit testy. He has continued to field questions about how long are you going to bat Soriano in a leadoff spot. His numbers have just been abysmal, whether they be last year or this year. Now, granted, he spent a lot of time out of the lineup this season. That one a line in the center field, a 2-out single by Soriano. Now, his on-base percentage, batting in that number 1 spot, is at .250, which is the lowest among all leadoff hitters in the National League.
That's a pretty good pitch right there that he hit off of Johnny Cueto. That ball down and away and breaking away. He just went right out there and slapped it to center field. But if Alfonso Soriano is going to get the offense going by getting on base, he's going to do it exactly like this, which is putting the ball in play. He doesn't take very many walks. He has never been a guy to see a lot of pitches and a particular plate appearance. He's never averaged over the course of a year of any more than 3.9 pitches per plate appearance. And most leadoff hitters that do it for a living and they work the pitches are somewhere up over 4. So he is definitely deficient in that. This year he's worse than ever at 3.4 pitches per plate appearance. Maybe he lives by the credo of I'm a leadoff hitter and not a leadoff looker.
Well, the only 4 players in the history of baseball to go 40-40. Jose Canseco the first back in 1988. Barry Bonds did it in '96. Alex Rodriguez in 1998. And then in '06 it was Alfonso Soriano. That's an excellent stolen base percentage at 78%. Two and 0 on Ryan Theriot. Found out a play.
You know, that's a great statistic. That 40-40 club, the 30-30 club, the 35-35 club, whatever you want to call it. And it gets better, obviously, as the numbers get greater. But it shows tremendous athleticism. But does it really help your ball club win? I mean, all those stolen bases that you have, are you stealing them when you're 3 runs down or 3 runs up? I want to see the guy that drives or runs in with runners in scoring position when you really need him, and the guy that every time you turn around he's on base ready to score a run.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, though, all 4 guys, or 3 of the 4 before Soriano, their teams were all in the playoffs the year they did it. Canseco, Bonds, A-Rod. Or was that before A-Rod came to the Bronx? Did he do it with the Rangers? I can promise you if he did it with the Rangers, they weren't in the playoffs.
You sure Bonds was in the playoffs that year?
Pretty sure he was that year. That was as a San Francisco Giant. Well, you bring up a great point, but you know what? The other thing it tells you is not only the athleticism, but it tells you also about a guy getting in the lineup and playing on a regular basis. And if you're going to have guys like the quartet we just mentioned in the lineup regularly, you're going to win some games. Bond's team did not make it the year he did.
He did in '96, and they were not in the postseason in '96. They were in '97.
3-2 on Theriot. Is a fair ball down the left field line into the corner. Dunn going to have to get there quickly. Soriano going to be waved around, and he will score on a 2-out single, and then a little roller up the third base line that turns into a run-scoring double by Theriot. That makes it a 5-2 ball game. One ball seemed like it took forever to get there.
He has not made too many mistake pitches tonight, but 2 of the ones he has thrown, one of Giovanni Soto in the second inning, went for a home run. This one was way up in the strike zone to Ryan Theriot, and he gets it right inside the third base bag for a double.
Theriot now with 9 runs batted in. He has 2 hits and 3 at-bats tonight. Dick Pole out for a visit with Cueto, who is at the 90-pitch mark here in the 5th inning with 2 men out and 1 run in. After the visit by Dick Pole, Cueto now wants to chat with Paul Bacco.
Now take another look at it and look at the pitch location of this fastball to Ryan Theriot. He wants to keep it down. You see where the glove is for Paul Bacco, but that ball just stays up in the zone. We don't see Theriot on that, but I can assure you that was letter high fastball, and he was all over it.
Well, now to the dangerous Derek Lee, the batter, and there's ball 1 low and away. Lee had a check swing, comebacker to the mound in the opening inning, bounced into a fielder's choice at Encarnacion in the 3rd. 0 for 2 is Derek Lee. That ball bounced about 3 feet in front of the plate. 2-0. Cueto now beginning to show some frustration out on the mound.
Yeah, it looks like he's pitching with a little more caution now, and that's what happens when you bounce a changeup like that. You're not really giving it all the arm action that you need to give it good deception and have all the other makings of a successful pitch. If you choke it off a little bit and slow your arm down, you're going to bounce at 58 feet.
Base hit into left field. They're going to wave around Theriot. Here comes Dunn's throw. That will not be in time. So 2 out hits by Terrio and Lee have made it a 2-run ball game.
Well, that certainly makes the great defensive play by Johnny Cueto at the beginning of the inning on the bottom of the order. The sacrifice bunt double play, huge at this point. Again, that ball waist high. Now this inning looks a lot more like his inning and a third in St. Louis, where he got the ball up waist high on a consistent basis.
Now there's no activity in the Reds bullpen, and
I'm a little surprised because he's up in the 90s as far as pitch count goes, and he's lost a little bit on his fastball. I know you want to get the kid through 5 innings, but this team needs a win.
That one lined into right, and Jr. is there to win the inning. Of course, the other part about it is the last 2 days, the starters have done nothing. The Cubs get 2. For tickets, call 381-REDS or go to Reds.com. Offer valid in advance of game day only. Breaking ball in there, strike 1 to Ken Griffey Jr. The Reds need to get it back going offensively. They took advantage of an error in the first inning to score 3. Took advantage of an error in the third inning to score 2. Fly ball straight away center. PA at the wall. Leaps. Did he get it? He got it. What a play by PA in center field, taking away career number 598 from Ken Griffey Jr.
What they say about payback? Ken Griffey Jr. thinks he's got one right here. This ballpark will give him up, but PA up over the yellow line. Clearly robbing Ken Griffey Jr. of a homer. Nice play.
Brandon Phillips dumps it foul and out of play off to the first base side. Well,
do you see Ken Griffey Jr. as he rounded first base though on that? It shows you the eyes of a hitter and how acute the vision is, because here we are sitting up there. We've got a pretty good view of center field, and I wasn't sure whether he got it or not until he showed the ball and threw it back in. Junior knew as soon as that ball went in his glove.
That one lined hard into right and caught by Fukudome. A couple of hard hit balls off Dempster, but loud outs from Junior and Phillips.
And some early countouts too. You know, when the Reds scored their 3 runs, yes, they did them with the help of an error by the Cubs in the first inning, but they worked the count a little bit more. Dempster was all over the place. They made him throw more strikes. They've let him off now with, you know, a somewhat low pitch count because they're up there swinging it in early in the count.
And here's another one. The first pitch ground out off the bat of Joey Votto. So Dempster is now thrown almost 20 fewer pitches in Cueto and has had far more base runners than Cueto in the game. Play from the freeze can. Cueto, a bumpy 5th inning when he allowed 3 straight hits after 2 men were out. A single to Soriano, a run-scoring double to Terrio, an RBI single from Derek Lee before he got Fukudome on a line drive to Junior and right. He's 6 pitches shy of 100 in the game. He has a 5-3 lead, and you got to believe this will be his final inning of work. There you see the numbers on Cueto, 7 strikeouts, 3 runs all earned on 5 base hits. Strike 1 to Soto, who is homered and walked.
Unlike last inning, it looks like Dusty Baker's got some activity in the Reds bullpen. Had none in the last inning. They tried to get Cueto through the 5th. He did do that. But he's run his pitch count up now close to 100. He's at 97, 98 pitches right now.
Jeremy Affeldt cranking it up down in the bullpen.
You get him up and ready just so this inning, if it starts off in a bad way, you can go right to the pen when you need it.
Giovanni Soto.
That would not be an easy lineup to pitch against when you're a left-handed pitcher, however. But that felt's got to be the most rested of the relievers. This is the problem that Dusty Baker has right now. His bullpen is so worn down due to the fact that the starters not going deep in games in Atlanta that he may not be able to go with matchups, but rather go with fresh arms.
Fastball right down the middle, 3-2 to Soto. Challenge him with a fastball, and a little bleeder into right will fall in between Phillips and Jr. So a bloop single by Soto starts the Chicago 6th inning.
Hey fans, be a chef in the kitchen with JTM's beef and chicken Philly kits and their beef hoagie kits. These kits come packed with everything you need to make 4 mouth-watering sandwiches. JTM, more of what you're hungry for. Having a perfect night is Soto. Homer, a walk, and that bloop.
You know, you look at his career numbers, and I'm talking about minor league numbers. He just came to the major leagues for the first time this season, and you wonder, you know, where did all this offense all of a sudden come from Giovanni Soto? Here's ball one. I mean, you look at his minor league numbers: 261 year, 269, 242, 271, 253. He had never hit more than 9 home runs in a minor league season. 9. Until last year when he hit 26 in AAA Iowa and hit 353. And now all of a sudden, in his first full year in the major leagues, granted it's only a month and a week, but he's hitting almost 340 and leads the Cubs in runs batted in with 24. On DeRosa. Breaking ball in there, called strike.
I don't mean this in a bad way, but before steroid testing, you see a blip in the radar like that, you say, well,
right,
one of the possibilities might be he's juicing. But obviously that's not the case anymore. Everybody's tested.
1-1 on DeRosa. And he's tardy on a fastball at 94.
And you know, that really doesn't happen very much with baseball players, because usually, whether it's at the minor league level or at the major league level, by the time you're 28 or so, and I'm not sure how old Soto, he's only 25, you reach a certain plateau of productivity, and you pretty much stay within range. Maybe now that he's getting into closer to the prime of his career, around age, he's 25, so it'll be a couple of years till he's in that, but you know, maybe he's reaching a new plateau.
Well, another guy who was very similar to that was Sammy Sosa. Now, people can, you know, accuse Sosa of, did he do this, did he do that? To my knowledge, he's never been, you know, tested in a positive vein for you know, any kind of steroids. Whether people believe or not he did is an entirely different question. Swing and a foul tip into the mid of the catcher Baco, and that's a strikeout for Cueto. But the point being is that Sosa was one of those guys coming up through the White Sox organization who never hit many home runs, and then all of a sudden he got to the big league, started knocking a cover off the ball. Mike Fondo, the batter. That's 8 strikeouts in the game now for Johnny Cueto. He struck out Fondo twice, both times looking. Should be the second out of the inning. Who wants it? Junior calls off Phillips for out number 2. I showed you earlier the pitches by inning for Johnny Cueto. A big pitch count into second. And again in the 5th. I mean, you're looking at, well, a little less than half of his pitch count in those 2 innings alone. field. Jr. at the track with room. That much room. So Cueto allows a leadoff hit. Retires in X3 and leads by a pair.
To find a studio near you. Tom Brenneman, back to you.
Look at that kid in the sombrero. Our old buddy Harry Carey. Oh boy, do we have some laughs with him. First pitch swinging again. Encarnacion. A line drive and a hit taken away on a leaping grab made by Terrio. Well, the Reds are going quickly here in the last 3 innings.
So this is 3 pitches and 3 outs. If you want to go back to the line drive by Phillips for the second out in the 5th inning. Joey Votto hit the first pitch on the ground ball, and anybody Encarnacion hits the first pitch out.
And meanwhile, the Cubs continue to try and chip away at what was a 5-1 lead. It's now a 5-3 game. And one would suspect the night is probably over for Johnny Cueto. Talking with Edinson Volquez down in that dugout. As activity continues out in the Reds bullpen, you have the pitcher spot leading off in the Cubs' 7th inning. And that's Mike Lincoln starting to throw. I'm sure they'll pinch hit for Dempster leading off the 7th. And then go to Soriano and Terrio, right-handed batters both. That one tomahawked into right field, and Fukudome's got it. 2 away in the inning. We talk about it all the time. It's like many situations in baseball and in life where if it works, it looks great. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't look good at all. And that's that swinging at the first pitch business or very early in a count. We've talked about it time and time again. It is the single most misleading statistic there is in baseball today, unless it quantifies by saying, of all pitches put in play, a batter's batting average on the first pitch is X. Then don't believe it if it doesn't tell you that. There's a pop-up into center field. PA's got it, and that will end the inning. You can say they're hitting the ball hard. The bottom line is they are out. You'll have fun. Well, the night is indeed over for Johnny Cueto. Your impressions, Chris?
He was good tonight. You know, not as good as he was in his first outing ever, but he keeps the team in the ballgame. He's only given up 3 hits. He has struck out Johnny Cueto, I believe, 9, or make it 8, through the 6 innings that he pitched. So here's a Cubs ball club that is second place in the league. A Reds ball club that desperately needed a good pitching performance by a starting pitcher. They turned to a 22-year-old to get it, and they got it from Johnny Cueto. I'll take that line out of a Red starter anytime.
Absolutely. 6 innings, 3 runs, all earned. He walked 2. Chris mentioned the 8 strikeouts, allowed 6 hits. 3 of those came consecutively, leading to 2 runs in the 5th. And now Dusty Baker will hand the ball to Mike Lincoln with a 2-run lead. Reed Johnson, the pinch hitter, to bat for Ryan Dempster, who allowed 3 unearned runs in the first, 2 unearned runs in the third, did not allow a single hit after the 2-run home run by Adam Dunn in the 3rd inning. He retired the final 10 batters that he faced. Lincoln has had an excellent year, coming all the way back from a pair of surgeries, which cost him almost 3 full seasons. Six innings, only 4 hits allowed by Dempster, all 5 runs, unearned runs. He struck out 7. All 7 of those came in the front 3 innings. And he walked only 1. It's funny, isn't it? The lines tonight by these pitchers and the way they kind of went through with the huge strikeouts in the first couple of innings. And then Dempster realized, what's the point? I'll get him to swing at the first or second pitch and try to get a little deeper into this game.
If it was only that easy, as a pitcher saying, okay, swing at the first pitch. I'm wondering if early on in the ball game, Tom, that the Reds were not swinging at the first pitch merely because they couldn't really pick the ball up very well out of the hand of Ryan Dempster. We talked about the sun and the shadow and the glare that is created by the batter's eye here at Great American Ballpark. But as it got darker and the lights came on and it became more of a night ball game, then they're up there hacking at the first thing they see.
Fly ball into right center field, playable for Ryan Friel, shy of the track. One away. Mission Automotive, one easy number, 421-1111. Four great locations: Beachmont, Fairfield, Colerain, and Western Hills. Mission Automotive, lower prices, lower rates. Soriano 1 for 3, singled and scored in the 5th inning, and looks at strike one from Lincoln. Of course, David Weathers was activated from the disabled list before the game tonight. Bill Bray, the left-hander, who was just called up a little more than a week ago, sent right back to AAA Louisville. He did not go around, but 5 unearned runs are the most.
You better run just in case Chuck Merriweather decided to ring him up. That's the transaction you're talking about. David Weathers, who went on the DL with a sore elbow. They MRI'd it. They said he's got no damage in there. He went down, he pitched some rehab in the minor leagues, and he's back.
And the Reds need him right. Weathers was never right. You see that ERA so far this year. That's not David Weathers. They need him right. And we're going to see him tonight if they can have Lincoln get through this inning, one would assume, and that's out number 2 here in the 7th. Retiring the Cubs in order so far this year is a major accomplishment. They've only gone down 1, 2, 3 in 65 half innings this year. That is by far the fewest of any club in Major League Baseball. So they're getting guys on. Now, whether or not they get them in obviously varies. As Chris brought up earlier, they've had, nearly half of their games this year where they've scored 3 times or less, but clearly they are putting guys on base. Broken bat, roll it to short, and it is a 1, 2, 3 inning for Lincoln. A job well done. We go to the bottom of the 7th. The Reds still lead Chicago 5-3. And Reds hot grilling all summer long. For tickets, call 381-REDS or go to reds.com. 5 runs, 4 hits, an error, and 2 men left on base for the Reds. 3, 6, 2, and 5 for Chicago. And now taking over on the mound is left-hander Sean Marshall.
Well, you talked about Sean Marshall earlier. 12 games for him. He's been pretty good. Not a strikeout pitcher, as you see, but opponent batting average, when you've got it below 200, you've done a pretty good job. And you got to figure that if you're a left-hander in a bullpen on a team that comes in here to play against the Reds, you're going to see some action, because this Reds lineup loaded with southpaw hitters.
Paul Baco to lead things off. Jerry Hairston Jr., a one-time Cub, stands in the on-deck circle to bat for Mike Lincoln. And then Ryan Friel, the front 3 here in the Reds' 7th inning, leading by 2. The last Reds base runner came way back in the 3rd inning on that long home run by Adam Dunn. Big looping breaking ball, misses up and in. 1 and 2 to Baco. Knocks this one down the right field line into the corner. And Bacco making a turn, and he will start the inning with a double. So a string of 10 in a row, retired by Chicago starter Ryan Dempster, comes to an end on a leadoff double by Paul Bacco.
Well, after dropping a curveball in there, it looks like Sean Marshall threw him a cutter, maybe a fastball, a variety thereof, and he got it right in the wheelhouse of Paul Bacco. Bacco has been surprisingly offensively productive this year, and he's shown some pop. That's why he's getting the majority of playing time behind the dish right now.
Well, now Jerry Hairston Jr., one would assume he's up there to move the runner with a bunt. He has one sacrifice in 24 at bat so far this year, and he bunts it to the third base side. That'll get the job done. Well done by Jerry Hairston Jr. Well, you get him on, you got him over. Now it's up to Ryan Freel to get him in. Cubs bring their infield in. Freel 0 for 3 has struck out twice and bounced to third. But that was against a right-hander Dempster. Out in front of the plate, Soto will throw, and it pulls Derek Lee off the bag. He has words for Chuck Merriweather, and now we'll have a few more with it. And Lou Piniella again will come trotting out of the dugout. Earlier, a visit with Tim Welke. This one with Chuck Merriweather. Who could ever forget? Every time you see Lou Piniella come out to visit with a first base umpire. Back in those days, it was while wearing a Reds uniform in a game against the Cubs, where in one of his more famous tirades, Lou picked up the bag, threw it once, went out and got it, threw it again.
Yeah, back in those days, Tom, Lou Piniella used to get out to the side of the argument pretty quickly. Now, as you said earlier in the game, you called him the shuffling Lou Piniella. It took him so long to get out there. Now, I bet he forgot what he went out to argue about.
Let's take a look.
Time.
Tough to tell.
We don't have a conclusive angle. It doesn't look like. I can't see Chuck Merriweather missing that call because he was in the right spot. He was right on it. I mean, how do you miss it?
Freel gets credited for an infield hit. Now it's up to Junior to try and get Bacco in from third. He just missed homering his last time up. It's ball one to Ken Griffey Jr., who, like many of his teammates, has struggled mightily against left-handed pitching this year. Junior only 4 for 29 without a single RBI against a left-handed pitcher this season. 2-0.
An RBI right here, it'll be against a left-hander that has had his way with left-handed hitters. Sean Marshall this year has held lefties 1 for 11.
2-0 to Junior. And this is not going to get the run in. Goodness gracious.
Well, that's a bad 2-0 swing right there. You got a breaking ball, but the curveball didn't break maybe as much as Junior thought it would. He kind of jammed himself.
Well, now Piniella will go to the mound and takes him so long to get there, will he remember what he went there for? Apparently it's to make a change and to bring in a right-handed to face Brandon Phillips. This will be our Skyline chili. Call to the bullpen. Chad Fox, his career resurrected this season for Chicago. Well, it's been a long road back for that fella. We'll tell you more about him when we come back. Runners on the corners. The Reds lead by 2 with 2 outs in the 7th. 37-year-old Chad Fox has not pitched professionally for 2 years since injuring his elbow in April of 2005 while pitching for the Cubs. Came in as a non-roster invitee, pitched very well in the spring, pitched through some tricep tendonitis, and was just called back up to the big league club on Friday. Took the loss in the Cubs 5-3 setback after allowing a home run to Skip Schumacher in the 11th inning that night. But it's amazing he's come all the way back.
He's come back from a long way. You know what, Tommy also started his professional career in the Cincinnati Reds organization. Originally drafted by the Reds and traded in January of 1996 from the Reds to the Atlanta Braves in exchange for Mike Kelly. Fox went on to have a couple pretty good years with the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yep, had an outstanding season for that Florida Marlin team that won the World Series in '03 as well. That one shot down the line but foul.
You know, you talked earlier about first pitch hitting, and I've got a statistic on Brandon Phillips that I really can't understand. Maybe you can help me out. On the first pitch that he puts in play on a 0-0 count, Brandon Phillips coming into this ball game tonight is 9 for 18. So he's hitting .500. On an 0-1 count, after the pitcher throws a first pitch strike, Brandon Phillips is 1 for 13. That's .077. How do you go from .500 to .077?
Well, again, that first pitch thing that's why I say it is the single most misleading statistic that there is in any sport played today. And what I mean by that is this. Just imagine for a second, folks, when we're given that number by StatSync, if I come to the plate 4 times in a game and swing at the first pitch all 4 times, if the first time up I get a base hit, the next 3 times up I swing and miss or foul off the pitch to then go to the 0-1 count, my batting average in that game on the first pitch, the way that statistic is given to us and applied in Major League Baseball, I am a 1,000 hitter on the first pitch of the at-bat. Of the 4 times I came up, only once did I put it in play. I'm batting 1,000. The other 3 times up, I'm 0-1 in the count, and your batting average falls off the table on average for every player down 0-1 in the count. Pitch taken high, and Ryan Free will steal second base.
I see your logic. I really do. And so really, if you're going to get a better gauge of things, obviously an overall batting average is one way to go. But maybe you could take the first couple of pitches, what's your batting average? So now you blend Brandon Phillips 9 for 18 plus his 1 for 13 together to give you a better scope of what he does early in the count.
3-2 on Brandon Phillips. And again, it's fouled back to the screen. But I mean, you have access to those stats, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
On every player in baseball, what they're hitting 1-0, what they're hitting on 1-1, what they're hitting on 2-1. So we know all that stuff. Those are all real numbers.
Except that you can still foul off a 1-2 pitch 8 times.
You can't. But it's still 1-2 if you foul it off 8 times. Here's a 3-2 pitch. Struck him out swinging, and that'll end the inning. So Fox strikes out Phillips. The Reds fail with a runner at third and less than 2 men out to get him in. We go to the 8th. Reds still lead it by 2. A single in a 3-run opening inning. Getting the Reds off and running. Giovanni Soto, a solo home run in the Chicago second off Johnny Cueto to make it a 3-1 game. Adam Dunn made it 5-1 with a 2-run home run into the moon deck in right center field in the 3rd inning. Junior took away a home run from Soriano. Junior had a home run taken away on a leaping play by Felix P.A. And Johnny Cueto, coming off the worst outing of his short major league career, solid tonight. 6 innings, 3 runs. Struck out 8 while walking 2. Mike Lincoln, a perfect 7th inning out of the bullpen. And now the Reds will hand it to David Weathers, just activated off the disabled list before the game tonight.
And before he was activated, he pitched 3 times down in rehab, once for Louisville, a couple of times for Dayton. Total of 3 innings and 29 pitches for David Weathers, who was sidelined with elbow problems. They need him to switch it around a little bit than what he did. And you saw the numbers at the very bottom of that screen. You saw for David Weathers, his strikeout to walk ratio, 1 strikeout, 8 bases on balls. You said earlier, Tom, this is not the David Weathers we're used to, and it certainly has not been to date. Let's hope he's healthy now.
Weathers so rock solid and dependable in an otherwise brutal Reds bullpen a season ago. But of course, this year goes back to his more familiar role where he spent the most time in his career, and that is a setup man. Now in front of Francisco Cordero. 1-1 to Derek Lee. Good sharp breaking ball there from Weathers.
Well, when David Weathers is right, he has to have pinpoint control, and it's down around the knees, good breaking ball. He'll eat up hitters just using that first base side of home plate, down around the knees on the black.
Came back with the same pitch, this one too low.
And not with only with the breaking ball either. He's got to throw that fastball out there, get some sinking action. Hope the hitter pulls off of it just an inch or so and gets a ground ball.
So heart of the order here in the Cubs' 8th inning. And it's popped up into foul ground and out of play. Two on Derek Lee. Lee hit in 3 at bats, knocked in a run with a 2-out single in the 5th inning off Cueto. Lined into left field, caught by Adam Dunn. Red ball kissed by Derek Lee. But the big fella left able to bring it in. The final score comes your way tonight. Extended highlights of the NBA playoffs. Josh Beckett and the Red Sox against the Tigers. Jim Leland said changes are coming. The only show that gives you wall-to-wall highlights. The FSN final score tonight at 10:30. Only on FSN Ohio. Yesterday the Tigers get in front of the Minnesota Twins 6-0 in the first inning. 6-0. And then lost the game. They were swept over the weekend by the Twins. And Jim Leland was very, very upset following that loss to Minnesota. Funny swing there by Fukudome, 0-2. Of course, the Tigers, the biggest spenders during the offseason, acquiring an all-star lineup. Got off to a 2-10 start, and after getting within a game of 500, they've lost 3 in a row to slip 4 games under. But in their division, they're 4 under, but they're only 3 games back. Strike 3 called to Fukudome. Impressive work in that at bat from Weathers.
You know, it looked like Fukudome really didn't see the ball coming very well out of David Weathers' hand. He had a terrible swing on an 0-1 pitch, and looks like he was guessing on every pitch and guessed wrong.
Bases empty for Soto. A perfect night for the Cub catcher. A solo home run to left field in the 2nd inning. Walked in the 4th. And a little bloop single into right field his last at bat in the 6th. Good breaking ball from David Weathers. Evens the count at 1-1. Well, the couple of former Reds celebrating birthdays today. Ronnie Oster, of course, born right here in Cincinnati. And Tommy Helms celebrating a birthday, born in Charlotte, North Carolina in 1941. Happy birthday to both. Both might be watching right now.
Yeah, you may well know that.
Another breaking ball swung on and missed by Soto.
Boy, he's got a good one tonight. Staying on top of that slider. Good tilt.
3-2. You want to make them earn it. There is plenty of thunder up and down this Cub lineup, including DeRosa in the on-deck circle. He might only have 3 home runs this year, but he's done a lot of damage inside this ballpark. Line into left center field, and DeRosa is going to get a chance to bat here in the inning. A 3-hit night, and on base for the 4th time in the game is Soto. This time with a 2-out double.
Well, the Reds figured out how to get out Mark DeRosa tonight, but they've not been able to figure out Giovanni Soto. On base every time, short swing on a hanging breaking ball right there. Once too often to the well on that slider for David Weathers.
Check swing and a miss by DeRosa, who was hit by a pitch on an 0-2 count from Johnny Cueto back in the 2nd inning. He stole the base, wound up at 3rd. And he struck out swinging against Cueto in the 4th inning, and Johnny struck him out swinging again in the 6th. Francisco Cordero cranking it up in the Reds bullpen, getting ready for the 9th inning. Weathers trying to get out of the 8th. He's fallen behind DeRosa 2-1. Breaking ball again outside, 3-1. Mike Fondo stands in the on-deck circle. Three balls and a strike to DeRosa. On the inside corner, a called strike.
Now this one froze him a little bit, obviously looking for maybe a different pitch. Looks like a hanger, looks like a very hittable pitch, but if you're looking for a breaking ball on either part of the plate, you may go a long time between getting the ones you want.
And Weathers finishes him off with a breaking ball low and away. 1 hit, 1 left. Welcome back, David Weathers. The Reds come to bat in the bottom of the 8th inning, nursing this 5-3 lead. The Cubs closer, Kerry Wood, takes over on the mound. Right-hander in his 14th season in the Cubs organization since being drafted in the 1st round of 1995. And there's a strike to Joey Votto. Tomorrow will rank the 10-year anniversary of Kerry Wood's 20 strikeout game against the Houston Astros. On May the 6th, 1998, he was 20 years old, a rookie at the time. It was only his 5th major league start, and at the time joined Roger Clemens as the lone pitchers with a 20 strikeout game to their credit. Randy Johnson has joined them since then. But the sky was the limit for Kerry Wood. Everybody thought he would become the next Nolan Ryan. Wood, a native Texan, Grew up idolizing Ryan and Roger Clemens. Been through so many injuries, so many trips to the DL. There's a slow roller picked up by Wood. And he'll tap the bag in front of a hustling Joey Votto, 1 away. He came within hours of retiring, did Kerry Wood, a year ago. I mean, Chris, how many rehabs can you go through? And he has been through a pile of them.
Well, he has, but we saw a pitcher in tonight's ball game for the Reds that had 2 Tommy John surgeries and missed 3 years of baseball. So, I mean, all Kerry Wood has to look around and see other examples. Chad Fox is a guy that's been out of baseball professionally for a couple of years before he came back. And when you have the kind of God-given ability that Kerry Wood has, you almost owe it to baseball fans, certainly Cubs fans, if you want to look at it like that, and, to work your butt off and come back. And I think that was one of the driving forces for Kerry Wood. And he was one guy that felt bad, sincerely bad, about not being able to fulfill the obligations of his contract. Yeah, he was being paid and paid very well while he was in the trainer's room and doing all the rehab, but he carried, an obligation with him to the point where he's going to come back one way or another.
Of course, Dr. Timothy Kremchek was the one who did his last couple of surgeries, and you see that fastball tonight, 95, 96 miles per hour.
Interesting note on that 20 strikeout game. It happened early in the year, as you say, on tomorrow's anniversary. Struck out 20, threw only 122 pitches in that ball game. You'd think striking out 20, he'd be more up around 130, 135, 140. In fact, in that year, he only had 1 ball game in which he exceeded 130 pitches, and that was against the Reds in an 8-inning affair in September, or in August.
It's funny how so many were quick to throw stones at Dusty Baker about high pitch counts for Kerry Wood. Nobody talks much about those days when he was 20 years old throwing 130 or 120 pitches in a game.
Well, they do talk about those games, and I think
Dusty wasn't the manager then.
No, you're right about that. But even back in 1998, I don't know how many studies were out there at that point that showed those kind of pitch counts to a very young pitcher at 20 years old is shown to be detrimental. I'm not so sure that there's enough information out there to show you exactly what the pitch count should be and how much minimum rest you should have, and whether it has anything to do with your delivery or whether you're more susceptible to injury based on your body type. There's a lot of conflicting things out there that you have to take into account. And unfortunately, Dusty Baker, I think, was wrongly thumbed a lot of times for ruining Kerry Wood and Mark Pryor. I think that he wasn't even close to being to blame.
And Kerry Wood has agreed with what you just said. There's a slider swung on and missed. And a 1-2-3 8th inning for Kerry Wood. So Cordero will come on, try to nail it down and end this 5-game Reds losing streak. They lead by 2. Heading for the lawn beyond the wall. Well, a couple of changes defensively as we go to the 9th inning with the Reds leading by a pair. Corey Patterson now in center field. Ryan Friel has moved from center field into left field. Adam Dunn out of the game, and now taking over on the mound is Francisco Cordero.
Well, he has been perfect in save and save opportunities. Unfortunately for the Reds, they've spread him out. He went 2 weeks between save opportunities, number 2 and number 3. He is now 1 week removed from his number 4 save.
Fine note to lead it off. Looks at a strike. Reds fans try the La Rosa's game time special. Calzones and Coke Zero. Ball 3-4-7-1-1-1-1 for carry out or delivery. One of the great Cincinnati institutions, La Rosa's. And Buddy La Rosa still going strong. One and one on Fontenot. He'll be followed by PA. And then we'll see. And a base hit will start the inning into left center field. First hit of the night for Fontenot, so the tying run will come to the plate.
Now Mike Fontenot Romano thought that he had the bat taken out of his hands the first couple of times up. He was punched out by Johnny Cueto looking. In his first two ABs, nice little inside-out stroke right there. Gets the Cubs going here in the ninth inning.
He struck out, walked, and flied out to right. Slaps it foul off to the third base side out of play. Fell out of that pitch, 0-2.
Yeah, you follow up a 94-mile-an-hour fastball with an 87-mile-an-hour changeup. There's some starting pitchers we've seen that didn't reach 87 with their fastball, like Tommy Glavine yesterday.
1-2 now on PA. Darrell Ward stands in the on-deck circle. Would hit for Kerry Wood. Leadoff man aboard in the Chicago ninth inning. The Reds in front by 2. 2-2 now to PA. The pitch speeds of Cordero in this at bat thus far, presented by Johnson & Johnson. Trying to get him on that off-speed stuff. Line into left center field, another hit. So now the Cubs will send the go-ahead run to the plate, and apparently they're going to let Ward hit rather than send somebody up there who could put down a sacrifice.
Well, Cordero back with the fastball, and not a bad spot. It was down, but a good bit of hitting by Felix PA. Just trying to put the bat head on it and let the pitcher supply the power. He does. That ball sizzler right over the shortstop's head.
Well, I'm sure Lou Piniella thinking right now, Aramis Ramirez more than likely is completely unavailable. He has not started 3 straight games since getting hit on the wrist on Friday night. He's already used Reed Johnson. There's a strike to Ward. You could send up Ronnie Cedeno to put down a bunt, but then what? You have Soriano coming up thereafter. He's going for the gusto here with Ward at the plate. 2-1, nobody out in the Cubs' ninth inning. And it's a ball and a strike on Darrell Ward, who has as much power as any left-handed hitter on the planet.
There is no question about that, but he's got to center the ball to be able to hit it anywhere. Right there, that low inside slider by Francisco Cordero, just trying to make Ward aware of the inner part of the plate. Likely to go back outside right now. At least that was Baco's idea before Cordero stared him down and stepped off and asked him to roll through the signs again.
One on Darrell Ward, and it's in the dirt again. 2 balls and a strike. It was a week ago tonight. Cordero picked up his most recent save. That was the Reds' last win, the opening game of that series in St. Louis, when he nailed it down for Bronson Arroyo. Two balls and a strike to Ward. 3-1.
Boy, Dusty Baker has to be sitting in the Reds dugout thinking, can't anything be easy?
Well, Ward will come out of his shoes looking for something to hit 3-1. And what will Cordero throw him? 3-1. 2-1, nobody out, top of the ninth inning. Launched into center field. It will be caught by Patterson. Holy mackerel, was that ball hit. He threw him a fastball, and Ward was ready for it. This looked like a 2-iron.
Well, Francisco Cordero has given up 3 shots in the inning. They've resulted in 2 base hits and that line drive out. Patterson in the right spot.
Oh.
That sounded like somebody stacking lumber.
But now you have Alfonso Soriano, 1 for 4 tonight. Struck out, had a home run taken away by Jr. in right. Single to center and scored in the 5th. And bounced to 3rd in the 7th inning. Tying run at first with 1 out in the 9th. He was not going to get a first pitch fastball, and chases a breaking ball for strike 1.
You thought he was.
To Soriano, fouled it away on a 96-mile-per-hour fastball. So Cordero gets in front, 0-2. Try to get Soriano to chase a pitch down and away. Alfonso lays off of it for the time being, and now Cordero and Baco will talk out in front of the plate. To get him to chase again, and again Soriano will not do it.
Well, you've got to respect Alfonso Soriano's ability to hit a fastball, and that's why Cordero's gone time after time with the slider, but eventually he's going to have to throw a strike.
Fastball off the outside corner. Crowd wanted the call, didn't get it. Naturally, there are a lot of Cub fans here tonight.
Now, Tim Welke has been on the corners, and he's been pretty liberal to pitchers tonight. That one too far outside. Really not even close.
Swinging a foul tip by Soriano. Lupinella urging his leadoff man to come up with a big base hit. Dusty Baker wants nothing to do with that. He's hoping his closer can get a 6-4-3 right here, right now. Instead, it's a walk to load him up. So now the tying run in scoring position at second base. The lead run is Soriano at first. And here comes Ryan Theriot, 2 for 4 in the game. A single, a double, a scored a run, and knocked in a run. First pitch to Theriot. Get off the end of the bat, foul. Well, you can look down in that Reds dugout, and if you had no idea what this team's record was this season, you would know that there is a great deal of tension down in that dugout right now. Everybody just about standing on top of the railing, leaning on it, knowing that this is a game the Reds have to have. In the dirt, here comes the runner. Here's a throw, and the runner is out at the plate. What a gamble there. What a gamble indeed by Fontenot. And he is tagged out by Cordero for the second out of the inning.
I think Lou Piniella in the dugout is torn between yelling at the umpire, Tim Welke, or at Mike Fontenot. Cordero will get the ball, and it looks like it beats him. But is the tag down in time? I don't know. It looks like he may have slipped his right foot in there. Whether you can see that from the dugout or not, I don't know. But as soon as that play evolved, Lou Piniella was ranting in that dugout.
So now the Cubs down to their final out. They do still have the tying run in scoring position. Ontario in the dirt again. For Cordero, you can understand with Soriano, and I guess you understand with Terrio, but I mean, seldomly has he thrown the fastball in this inning.
And when he has, it's been hit.
The runner at third. The tying run is Soriano at second with 2 away. It is 3-1 to Terrio, and you keep throwing breaking ball after breaking ball after breaking ball to Terrio. And you don't need to remind Cordero, who's standing in the on-deck circle. One of the most dangerous hitters in either league. Three and one. Threw him a fastball, and Terrio Tardy dumps it foul. A fastball at 97. Well, now decision time for Cordero. You got Lee in the on-deck circle. 3-2 to Terrio. You coming fastball here, or you coming split?
You're throwing what you can throw for a strike, but you've got a base open. You don't want to pitch to Derek Lee. You're throwing a slider, but you don't overthrow it, and he'll hack at it. And it was a slider, but he overthrew it.
And he hung it. It's a slider at 90 miles per hour. Okay, you did it one time, 3-2. You come back with the same pitch again at a better spot?
Yeah, I come back. If I threw a great one right there and he fouled it off, I come back with a different pitch. That was a bad one. Now I come back with a good one.
3-2. He threw him another all-speed pitch in the dirt. So now Cordero has to face Derek Lee. 2 walks and 2 hits allowed by Cordero. Here in the 9th inning, the Cubs have not scored a run. Derek Lee is 1 for 4. Lee hitting .336, only 2 at bats. 3 plate appearances for Lee against Cordero. 0-1. Tying run at second base with 2 away here in the top of the 9th inning. Cordero against Derek Lee. Threw him a fastball. Lee wasn't looking for it. 0-2.
When you take a pitch right down the middle, it shows you as a pitcher that he's looking for a certain pitch, not a certain location. Now Lee's got to protect.
Lee never leaving the batter's box. One ball, 2 strikes. On the ground, Avado. Down on one knee. He will slide to the bag and get the final out. And the Reds celebrate the end of the 5-game losing streak with a nail-biter indeed in the 9th inning. The Cubs leave them loaded. 5-3 the final. Cueto the winner. Outstanding relief work from Lincoln and Weathers. And a save, albeit a shaky one, for Mr. Cordero.
I didn't get the final attendance number, Tom, but I'll tell you what, they were all on their feet and biting their nails at the very end. How about a bang-bang play at first? Joey Votto takes it. Cordero nails down the save despite 2 bases on balls and a couple of base hits. And the Reds get the monkey off their back.
Oh, what a finish tonight. Reds win the opening game of this series 5-3. We'll be back with more in a moment.